Hey guys, Mike here. So another monthly OPEX in the books, and you're talking about $2.4 trillion with a T, expired today. So if you didn't see much going on in the market, that's what it was. Obviously still had some mega caps selling off from earnings. We'll talk about Tesla and Netflix, of course. And I want to talk to you about the one thing that probably will save earnings this quarter. I think just this one thing is going to absolutely, and I'll actually show you what I'm talking about when it comes to Tesla as an example, is going to keep, earnings to whether they just don't look that bad. Like, it don't matter if demand's slowed or not. You're not going to be able to tell when it comes to the income statement and stuff like that just because of this one thing. And I'm going to show you what that is, and then we'll talk about the stock is just skyrocketing in after hours. But what you see going on here, guys, I mean, still, this came out today, billions are flowing into tech. We hadn't seen this much money flowing into tech since 2021, right? I mean, obviously, we saw what happened after all that flowed in, but, that's what's going on. And then look at the S&P. The number of days where this index has not had a drop of 1% or more, right? We hadn't seen this. I mean, it's eclipsed all the other days, but going back to 2019, I believe we'll eclipse this. We'll eclipse both of those next week. But again, we'll have to see. This is 74 days that happened from 2019 to 2020 when we went on a huge run in 2019 for those who are unfamiliar with that before we shut down the world. And so I definitely think we'll definitely keep this moving up unless something happens during earnings next week, obviously. Now, talking about the one thing that's going to save earnings most likely, and it's going to be the decline in the dollar. And you may say, what are you talking about? And look at this chart. You can see when the dollar declines, which it's been doing, right? Staples, commodities, tech, materials get the biggest boost out of this, okay? You can see if it's going to the left, that's getting the biggest boost. Let me show you a prime example of what I'm talking about. This is Tesla's financials, okay? When you look right here on their income statement, that 320, that is $328 million, okay? That is there. It's called other income. It is only there because of all the weakness in the dollar. So all those revenues and things they're converting back into US dollars from overseas, which they get 50% of theirs from, boom, you get a positive reaction, right? Look at all the columns to the left, negative, 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 and then that was all last year. And then you get a little positive. So it was a huge boost to their bottom line to get $328 million just from a currency exchange, okay? And guys, before we continue, if you're getting anything out of this, please hit that thumbs up down there. I really appreciate it. And if you like the material here and the videos, think about subscribing. And of course, I bring this up because imagine, I believe Apple's like, was it 90 billion a quarter or something, and Tesla's like 23, which we'll talk about in a minute. So imagine Apple, right? They may be selling less iPhones over in Europe and China and stuff like that. Maybe it's slowing down. According to Taiwan Semiconductors, they're not selling as many chips to them and everything, or need as many chips. But you're not even going to notice it because you're going to talk about, 90 billion. I mean, if Tesla's getting 328 million, I don't know what Apple's going to end up converting in there. It's going to be quite a bit, but they're going to get just a boost, right? Just from that. And that's going to come across many companies because remember, a lot of these big conglomerates, they do over half their business overseas now. So that's why China's so important and Europe's so important and things like that. That's why we talk about it and stuff, not just about America anymore. And so that's a big boost. Remember last year what was happening? They were getting slammed, right? Because the dollar was so strong. And so now you're getting the reverse of that. And this is basically what you've seen all year when we go, the bar is low, but when you're getting a boost just from a currency exchange, that's pretty good stuff, right? And so just keep that in mind as we see this report, when you start looking at other income and how much they're getting just from the dollar being weak. So if the dollar catches a bid, which some people think it will, I'm honestly not sure about that. Let me know what you think in the comments. But if it catches a bid going into the last half of the year, well, that's not going to be good for earnings, right, going forward. So just keep that in mind. And truth is, I'm not even really sure how the companies are they even planning for that, to be honest with you. And I'm not sure if they're guiding for that or even talking about it right now. So I'll have to pay more attention going forward from here on out to see what they think, what's going to happen to the dollar. Now, as far as the market, after hours right here, this popped up on my phone and stuff. And you can see, yes, AMC is still a stock. It's still around. And so far, it's up 73% as I'm recording this. It was up about 85. And what happened was, a judge came out and ruled in favor of shareholders, and they're not going to allow the basis, I guess, the executives, whatever, to convert its controversial 8 preferred units into common stock, which would have diluted the shareholders, right? Now, what's the other thing that helps AMC go up? Well, it's still, according to July 1st data I got, And if you're an 8, let me know in the comments, because I'm not in the stock or anything. You know, it's still heavily shorted, right? And so that's why that thing is skyrocketing. Congratulations if you just happen to be in it. You know, I mean, I don't know if you're up or down. But again, when you pan out on the chart, obviously we know it's way down overall. But let's see if that continues and you get another short squeeze up. So, you know, have fun with it. Now, of course, like I said, 2.4 trillion in equity options expired today. You can see index options of 1.3 trillion, ETF options around 410 billion. Single stock options around 490 billion, futures around 240 billion. So mostly index options expiring and stuff. And you can see the Qs, another red day today. It was green a couple times at one point in time. But again, we get down here, we get to close, almost close another gap, not quite. And, you know, I'm saying looking for that middle trend line right there. And to bounce off of, if we're going to get it, you can see, you know, it's falling into that gap right there coming down. So it makes sense if we continue this weakness next week. But again, earnings will dictate this to come down and stuff. And so, you know, again, we've closed another gap, get to bounce off the volume node, move up. Now, Tesla will stand just a minute on. You can see right there, obviously, another red day today. The dip buyers did come in. You can see that volume node, that 257-ish area right there. They came in heavy, started buying. It looked almost like a V shape or a check mark recovery, a swish recovery, whatever you want to call it. And you can see that 260 where I got it marked. I mean, that's key. That's where the bulls want to get this above and close it above to start trying to rally this thing back up. Just keep that in mind. If it falls through the 256, 257 area, you know, then you're looking at that next gap below. So you're looking around, what, 237, 240 area, somewhere in there. So just keep that in mind. And truthfully, you know, you'd want it to come back down there, right? Just go ahead and get that gap filled and then start moving up from there. That'd be a more bullish thing. But again, you know, what to see. That's another 10% drop. And I can't imagine, does that mean Tesla bulls are going to let that happen right off the bat? But we'll see, you know. And now the big topic, of course, is, and I told you guys about the margins, right? That's what they talked about. And if you look, this breaks down auto margins, energy margins. Auto margins, you can see, over the last year, I mean, have shrank from 27% to 18% because of the price wars, right? Going on, not just here, in China, in Europe, right? The energy margins are up, and people are complaining like, well, how come they're not talking about the energy margin stuff, man? They're up from negative 12% all the way up to 18% in the last 2 years, and that's really good. That's really good. The reason why they're not talking about it is because their energy sector makes up an abysmal amount of the company currently. Okay, and we're talking. I'm just going to talk it real here. You see the revenue, 24.9 billion. What's the auto revenue? 21.3 billion. Okay, now. When you look down at the bottom there, and we go, not even just energy, I'll take all the other revenues, right? You got services, 2.2 billion, energies, 1.5 billion, leasing, 0.6 billion, regulatory credits, 0.3 billion, right? And so, you know, just doing some math in my head and stuff, for me, I would think, what is that, like 85, 86% or something like that? Let me do my calculator. Yeah, 85% comes from selling cars, okay? So maybe a tech company that sells a whole lot of cars, and you do not want to get down to legacy type margins, which is what Elon said he doesn't want to do. But, you know, again, and you know, the energy margins should continue to increase as far as I know, because now you got all these other car companies paying Tesla for their chargers and stuff. So that should continue to bring in more revenue and increase their margins and stuff, which is good. But again, 85% is still going to be from the automobiles. And what did Elon say? You're going to have to keep lowering prices on their cars if the interest rates continue to rise. And since next week, according to the FOMC tracker here, we have a 99.85% chance that the Fed's fund rate is going to go up again. So odds are interest rates will continue to go up and stay high, which is not good for cars or homes or anything like that, right? The other thing you got to make sure you pay close attention to, I saw this today, was, you know, how much inventory they're accruing on their cars and stuff. And starting in Q2 of 2022 forward, you can see they're producing more than they're actually selling, at least according to the stat I found and stuff. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that. So that's a whole another ball game we have to keep an eye on. And of course, the other thing that, you know, pay close attention to is if he is right when they put out that statement. I said it was genius to tell, you know, to strike fear into people to come in and buy the cars now versus trying to wait till after December when these credits might go away. That'll be a whole different ballgame. If there's no credits anymore, again, he might be, you know, trying to get people to come in and buy the cars. But if that happens, I mean, that's not a positive thing or anything. And yes, as long as rates stay high, it's going to be tough for people to qualify. Even if they want to buy the Teslas, plenty of people want to buy them. but it's tough to qualify, man. And when you got rates that high and stuff like that, so and that's why it's going to force them to keep lowering those prices to entice people and stuff. So just keep that in mind and everything. Now, Netflix, obviously another red day today. It continues to come down and stuff. And when you look at it, you know, I get to clean up the chart a little bit because it did finally fill another gap. So I can take this gap right here off. There's so many on here, right? And you can see, I mean, this is another one, right? It's falling down. It's getting in those volume gaps because it's moved up so fast, so hard and everything. And just a bunch of gaps right there. And I put a line right in the middle of this channel we've been tracking. It would make sense for it to bounce right there, right? Fill two more gaps, hit that volume node, which coincides with that trend line right there of support. And that's only like 5% down, so it's not even that far. And then maybe catch a bid from there. And I mean, when you look, scroll out here, I mean, this thing has just moved up unbelievably. I mean, it's incredible to see this move. So that's really nothing when you compare it to the overall move and stuff, right? And obviously, I mean, you look, MACD looks like it's trying to roll over, RSI is crossing the 50. So those aren't good things or bullish things, but you look on the 1 hour, more short-term time frame, and you're talking about the MACD is trying to curl up, the RSI is trying to stabilize down there at the bottom. So it could catch a short-term bid. Again, all this, I'm talking about all these stocks, everything, which we'll talk about in Sunday's video, are going to have to do with all the earnings, which is a boatload of earnings. I mean, good Lord. Plus, add a rate hike on top of it maybe, okay? According to Fed tracker, 100%, it's usually pretty accurate. But then again, you never know. Another thing we're going to talk about in Sunday's video is certain things to start watching out for, because you're starting to see certain prices, they're starting to increase, right? And this is what a lot of people are talking about. And maybe this is what the Fed, they keep saying, we got to keep the foot on the gas, because this is what you see usually happen when you have a spike in inflation. It comes down and then it spikes back up. Right, and so, you know, we're going to go into a little more detail on that in Sunday's video, let you know what I'm talking about. We'll go through all the earnings because it's just a lot to cover. To be honest with you, I don't want to keep this one short. So anyway, hope you guys got something out of it. Let me know how your week was and stuff. Hit that like and subscribe button if you got anything out of it. And you like the content and want some more videos, just let me know. And I'll end up seeing you guys Sunday.